All right, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the Magic Online Champion Showcase. Corey Ballmeister, Anurag Das here, bringing to you coverage here of our home stretch of the Modern event. We essentially have 3 players left in this tournament, and 2 of them are going to be going to the World Championship, and one of them is going to be a little sad. So let's take a look at our 2 players that we are going to be seeing vying off for the 3-0 in Modern, and it is a doozy. We have Yuuki Ichikawa on the left and Jesse Hampton on the right. Here, just saw Jesse and Yuuki take it down here in impressive fashion in the last round. And I gotta say, you know, these 2 plus Eduardo Sajgalik, those were the favorites going into the tournament. So always impressive to see, you know, these players going deep and putting themselves with a solid chance to, for both of these players, make it back to the World Championship. This isn't a, oh, they're happy to be there and happy to play in Worlds once again. They're like, no, I'm happy to be there, but they want to win it. You know, they want to go and dominate. So Yuuki qualified via the Open number 2. Jesse Hampton qualified in that standard showcase event with that really awesome Rakdos deck, heavily metagamed against the field. And let's check out their decks. First for Yuuki, the deck of the tournament so far for me, as in, I think this deck has just been incredibly fun to watch. Walk us through this really sweet Jeskai Narset deck, Anurag.
Absolutely. So, glued together by the artifact engine core of Tamiyo, Emery, and MOCS Opal, this deck leverages the power of both Corey Steelcutter to go aggressive and wide, alongside Narset Jeskai Waymaster to just generate lots of value. You've also got a backdoor combo kill here with Jeskai Ascendancy, which allows you to, you know, go infinite with something like Emery and like Mishra's Bauble, for example.
Yep, absolutely. The value deck that can also combo, you know, that's very similar to what Breach used to do, but of course, Jeskai Ascendancy, nowhere near as powerful as Breach, that's for sure. But let's take a look at Yuuki Ichikawa's opponent. It is none other than Team Handshake Moxfield. Jesse Hampton playing Goryo's Vengeance. How do you like this matchup? I am starting to think that I don't think it's like a gigantic, you know, 80-20 by any means, but I think Jesse's Goryo's deck is a favorite here and might be a large favorite, Anurag.
Yeah, I think game 1, when you have both decks sort of just playing solitaire for the most part, there's like bits and pieces of interaction here. I do think that the leaner combo deck, aka the one that can get Atraxa into play on like turn 3 or something, is the one that's going to be a little bit ahead. That being said, though, I don't want to discount the power of the Jeskai artifact deck. I do think, though, that just like eyes closed, if I had to pick somebody, it would be the interaction of Thoughtseize plus, you know, the end game of Goryo's Vengeance that really draws me in.
Yeah. Yep, that's very fair. I mean, I also, the flip side, you'd think like, oh, I thought he's my opponent. Then they, you know, played a Jeskai, or a Narset Jeskai Waymaster and just drew a bunch of cards and invalidate that. So, I don't know. I could see it going both ways, but the 3 Wrath of the Skies in the board as well would be absolutely terrifying. We saw how good 1 was here against Eduardo in the last round. 3, when you have disruption and stuff like that, could be a nightmare for Yuuki Ichikawa, but only one way to find out. Let's head on down. One of these players is heading to the World Championship in round number 3 here of our Modern portion. Looks like we have Jesse Hampton on the play with a Thoughtseize into a Psychic Frog. Oh my goodness, that's always good. Up against Yuuki with a pretty solid hand, Anurag.
Yeah, I think we've seen Yuuki do this multiple times. Just have the turn 1 Tamiyo, turn 2 Emery set up there, or I guess in this case it'd be a little bit harder. No, turn 2 Aether Spellbomb plus the Clue token. Thoughtseize is going to go ahead and take the Tamiyo, which I think is what's gluing together most of this hand. We also have 2 copies of Corey Steelcutter, but because we've got, you know, duplicates, I think it is correct to just take the cheaper threat that is a bit more of an enabler for the archetype. Let your Psychic Frog do the talking.
Yeah, and Psychic Frog, such a good card here. Not only having the ability to just have a way to draw a bunch of cards, and oh my god, what a draw there. What a draw. But the fact that you also get to discard your gigantic threats and then Goryo's them back. But, I mean, now, you know, Yuuki gets to go Corey Steelcutter, MOCS, Emery.
Yeah, making a monk.
Yeah. Or bounce with Spellbomb. That's also a great play.
Absolutely here. I I don't know, man. Every time I see like more and more and more gameplay of this Corey Steelcutter card alongside Mox Opal, I just get the feeling that it's it gets better and better and better and better the more I watch it, which is a very promising sign here. So
Is it pretty good to mill over 2 portable holes and be able to deal with the Psychic Frog no problem?
So I want to go back in time and just talk to like the two of us when we were saying that Jesse was like probably going to win this match or whatever, and just like send over a screenshot of what's going on right now. Just be like, wait, before you say it, it's not too late to change your mind, because this is insane. This is actually just like picture perfect textbook start through disruption on turn 1.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the only other thing that maybe can go south for Yuuki here is, well, this frog's gonna connect. You get to exile the stuff in the yard, attack for 2, and if we can find a Traxa, or we can find a Gristlebrand here, discard it, and Goryo's Vengeance, maybe we got something going. That's not the case, and we drew the Prismatic Ending, which is not a castable card right now, so I'm with you. This is looking fantastic for Yuuki all of a sudden.
Yeah, and one thing I will say about Psychic Frog in this version of this style of deck that Jesse's playing is, unlike other builds that include Psychic Frog, like we've seen Dimir archetypes before that are more controlling, that have like cards like Orcish Bowmasters and Murktide Regent and Counterspell. This build is very combo focused, so it's not going to look to like interact on the stack as much. So even if the Psychic Frog does get to draw an extra card or 2, it's not going to be something that really disrupts your game plan, rather than something that propels theirs.
Yeah. And also, like, yeah, that's a very good point. And also, like, now I'm thinking about it, like, what's the worst case scenario next turn? And it's Jesse surveilling an Atraxa, and then Goryo's venging it back. Like, that would be lucky if Jesse did that. And the flip side, Yuuki just goes, okay, I'll respond to the trigger of Atraxa, just bounce it to your hand, and sure, Jesse's gonna draw 4 or 5 cards and get himself back in the game, but it wouldn't even be that good, and then I think Yuuki would just win the following turn. So, yeah, maybe this deck is just so busted that nothing matters.
Well, this is what I said earlier, right? If you get that turn 2 Corey Steelcutter into play, you could win the game as fast as turn 4, and that is the exact trajectory that that Yuuki Ichikawa has put himself on. Jesse's got a Solitude. Maybe that's an extra turn. I don't think so. I think it's going to be lights out here, because now if you have any spell, you can actually get 2 monks with haste. So yeah, I like this going after the Emery here.
Yeah, and now Yuuki does have the option to spellbomb it back, and then, you know, eventually you make this Prismatic Ending do nothing, but that would leave 1 turn where Yuuki does not have a spellbomb in play, and that 1 turn could equate to Atraxa attacking you, ephemerate it, and all of a sudden you feel terrible about it. So I think it's a real cost, but I could see either option here from Yuuki.
Yeah, I think I'm actually very much so down to use the Spellbomb here to protect the Emery. And the reason for that is that you probably crack the Mishra's Bauble here. You're drawing 2 cards. If either of them are spells, you win the game on the spot. And I mean, playing to those outs seems pretty reasonable here.
Okay, those constitute as a GG if I've ever seen them. Wouldn't you agree?
The question is how you'd like to do it. Would you like to ornate yourself with a 3rd Steel Cutter, or just for fun, we can play the Narset if we want to?
Yeah, let's see. I think it's more damage to play the Corey Steelcutter first into Emery, but it's close. You can also just go Narset and Emery. That would win the game as well. Plenty of options, but I think Corey Steelcutter into Emery is the most damage.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, the only thing you have to consider here is the prospect of a Solitude, but we probably can garner that there was no Solitude or a pitch-castable Solitude due to the fact that Emery survived so long.
Yeah, and I honestly think that that line right there played around Solitude. I didn't do the quick math, but I easily could have seen it. So first thing we see coming in from Jesse, 3 Wrath of the Skies, 1 Prismatic Ending. Makes a lot of sense. Wouldn't be too shocked. Then again, I was going to say to see the portable holes come out, but you do have to respect the frog. So look at this dance here, Anurag. The frogs came out. So
That's so
if the portable
fascinating.
holes stay in, they're dead cards. So wow, this would be some next level stuff.
Yeah, actually, and I guess you have to understand like why Psychic Frog is coming out here, and that's probably because the board gets so jammed up with monk tokens, perhaps, that you're just not going to be able to sustain exiling 3 cards every turn to jump the frog and actually draw that card. If you can't actualize the important part of the Psychic Frog's text, then it really is just kind of a liability. So I do like that outside the box thinking there.
And the fact that you're relying on Wrath of the Skies, so you're going to lose your own frog, that could be a thing. But also, I think if Jesse were to have the information known to him for some reason that, well, Yuuki took out all his portable holes, I think the frogs would stay in. So I think this is, I want to dead 4 of your cards as well. And oh, there we go. Yuuki sensed it a little bit, took out 1, at least that's minorly, big brain stuff here as you're taking out one of the dead cards at least.
Yeah, back and forth. And who knows, what we may also see is like this concept of like adaptability. Like in this format, the deck lists are open, but sideboard knowledge is unique, right? And so in that sense, I think it's very valuable to sort of like pay attention to patterns from game to game to game. And maybe we'll even see Yuuki sort of pick up on the fact that there are no Psychic Frogs, that the portable hole is not good. You can see him like waffling back and forth. This is kind of an intense choice. With a literal world championship invite on the line, I too would stress about the 4th copy of portable hole, whether it stays in or out. So all things considered,
it makes sense. It makes sense too, Anurag, because like you also have the repeals, which those can bounce frogs. Like I actually love Jesse Hampton's sideboarding, but the one thing I'm not loving from Jesse's side is I think we're down to 5.
Okay, well, one of those 5 is going to be a Wrath of the Skies, and that's a key card. You also have the Thoughtseize, so Jesse may be opting here to play the control role?
Sure, but the flip side is, Yuki's hand looks sick. This looks really good.
And what the crazy part here, too, is, I can't really speak to how good it is to discard an artifact in a world of Emery, but that's the Tormod script right there, right? And if we had cast that Thoughtseize on turn 1, there's a world where we could have just gotten rid of the Tormod script. Now we have to maybe trade a Prismatic Ending with it instead that could otherwise go for like a Tameo or a Corey Steelcutter. A lot of interesting like back and forth small choices here that we're going to see like the impact of over the course of this game.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I thought that this crypt wasn't even going to come into play. I thought we were going to wait and hold it to get more value from Corey Steelcutter, but, I think this is a nice play. It is going to run into Prismatic Ending as well, so who knows? Maybe in a perfect world, maybe Yuuki would rather hang on to it. It's not safe in play, it's not safe in the hand, though, I think is what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the question is like, in this instance, maybe Yuuki would have to evaluate, like, would I prefer this card to get Thoughtseized or would I prefer this card to get Endinged? And I think when you look at the double Corey Steelcutter in the hand there, I am happier to see you sort of forcing more strain on the Prismatic Ending, because once the Corey Steelcutters are in play, like, I think it just works out better in my head, where you can keep it around and generate value off of it a little bit longer.
The one thing that it seems like Jesse's trying to set up here with the fact that, well, we already made a conscious choice to, tap the only white source. So we're not Prismatic Ending the crypt now. So that crypt is just wanting to be eaten as another piece of cardboard to the Wrath of Skies. So I bet Jesse's not going to go for any kind of reanimate strategy, obviously with the crypt on the battlefield, but like just until this Wrath of the Skies gets cast. And right now, Jesse doesn't even have second white. Like, I don't know, Jesse, this is a prime example where of what we saw, I hate to keep referencing Breach, but this deck has a very similar feel to Breach. And we saw towards the end, people were bringing in 12, 13, 14 cards for the deck. And it was like, okay, nice job. But then their deck didn't function properly. And then all of a sudden, Breach just had the most time ever and was still winning the game. Not saying that's exactly what Jesse's doing either because, well, he mulled to 5. But, you see all these hate cards and it's easy to play around them. when there's no pressure.
Yeah, I also am a big fan of the way that Jesse has actually played this out by taking the MOCS Amber, which, honestly, you don't very often see something like that happen. Has set Yuuki up for a turn where he can't double spell, and that increases the potency of that prismatic ending. So while under pressure, Jesse still continues to make some pretty banger plays here that, really are, I don't know, he really is thinking like critically and outside the box, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, Jesse is a sicko. I absolutely love watching him play. And this is a sicko play. Being able to play Corey Steelcutter into Emery guarantees that not everything will get cleaned up by Wrath of the Skies. And if not everything gets cleaned up by Wrath of the Skies, essentially nothing gets cleaned up by Wrath of the Skies, because you just get to Emery back whatever actually goes away,
Yeah, I mean, given how it is right now, Meticulous Archive doesn't even let you Wrath for X equals 2 because it comes into play tapped. But yeah, I mean, what happens next turn, right? We crack the Tormod script, cool. Corey Steelcutter dies, cool. The Monk token dies, cool. Emery brings back the Corey Steelcutter, not cool. Tamiyo comes into play, not cool. And the board looks almost exactly the same, if not worse.
Yeah, so, I mean, here's the thing, is Jesse wants a land. Wrath of the Skies for 3 actually looks good. So, I'll be curious. I think, in my opinion, Yuuki has 2 plays right now. You can either Emery back Bobble and, just attack with your 3/3 and take a very measured approach. Or you bring back Corey Steelcutter, play an empty portable hole, and attack for a good chunk of damage and hope that the land's not there. I think those were the 2 options, and it looks like we're just going for the Bobble line and holding back the rest of your threats and saying, you know what? I will rebuild after a Wrath of the Skies. And the reason I love this play from Yuuki is you already have the graveyard thing under lock, and you already have a portable hole for the frog. So the Goryo's deck just can't beat you outside of those 2 avenues. So why risk anything from Yuuki when he's got it all wrapped up? And nice job being conservative, as it's there, and I assume you just have to go for the Wrath of the Skies here.
I think it's too much of a value proposition. Like, sure, there might be more stuff. I mean, but the Bobble, but like it's not going to get better, is what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, this is
and you could just die. You could just die. Like, 11 life is not that much when you have another Corey Steelcutter in the yard. Like, you have to Wrath now, in my opinion.
It's also funny because I'm just like thinking about the impact real world of boarding out the Psychic Frogs. Psychic Frog was one of the few cards here that could have actually gotten us out of the kind of conundrum we're in. Yeah. You want to Wrath of the Skies, the Tormod script, but you also need to kill the Emery. Otherwise, Tormod script comes back, so then you could take a turn off, put Psychic Frog into play, then discard attracts all the good stuff there.
Deep breathing. We're doing it. I'm sorry to derail your thought there, but we top decked Narset. We didn't even top deck it. We bobbled ourselves. We played a Tamiyo. We're playing a Mox Opal. And end step, we're going to draw 3 cards. Here's a bit of a weird nombo with this deck, is you flip your Tamiyo on end step, which makes it very vulnerable, which is a nombo. It's a true nombo, but this matchup, you don't get punished for it.
That was still great. I don't know.
That was still great.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt your thought there. I got way too excited when I saw that Narset come off the top.
I'm just going to say preemptively, anytime you see Narset doing some cool stuff, like, don't even bother. Like, I'm all about it.
Okay, so Goryo's comes back. Ketramos is in the yard. That doesn't seem like an ideal combination. This could have been the turn where Yuuki could have essentially lost if you flipped over Gorius and an Atraxa or something, but you got to get lucky for those scenarios. And just a Gorios. I mean, you can bring back Ketramos, and it can probably attack. I don't see how many cards are in exile. Looks like 6. Oh no, Tilt. You can't even attack. 6.
Yeah, I was going to say 5 and 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just horrific. It does nothing, right?
I don't know if it sees itself exiled to itself but to Goryo's Vengeance at the end of turn. Maybe you draw a card there, but even if it did, that's like certainly not something that you would want to do, right? You would not want to.
Yeah, no one knows. Scientists are just still trying to figure it out, but Our YouTube comments, though, they've figured it out. They're all fantastic judges, and we appreciate all of you. But hey, look at this. You know, we're about to tick up Tamiyo, attack with Narset, and then, you know what? I mean, you either just keep Orum's Chant and time walk your opponent, and then do all this next turn, or you just go Tamiyo, MOCS Amber, Chant, land, draw 3.
That's so cool. All right.
I think Yuuki is actually going for the not that plan. And I like that because Orum's Chant does feel like an actual time walk here. I bet we say no to this one. Yeah. I actually like this play because time walk is basically already a time walk.
Okay. Do we have any other cards that we can get back with the Tamiyo from the graveyard? I don't see anything, so I assume that's probably also another incentive. We cast the Orum's Chant here with the plan of buying it back next turn and then doing the same thing again.
Sure, but we did not do that. So Yuuki has different plans. Orum's Chant also does not seem very good in this matchup. Maybe I'm, being jaded on that, but it doesn't seem amazing by any means.
Maybe one of the cards that Yuuki took out of his sideboard was just significantly worse than Orum's Chant. Hard to say. I do see the tension, right? Because Orum's Chant typically, like, the matchups where I prefer it are matchups where you can really leverage the ability of the kicker, or if you can leverage it more than once, with Isoconcept or things like that. Here, the impact is when Atraxa hits the battlefield, and a lot of the times you'll be playing, like, just like, I don't know what the phrase is. It's not chicken and mouse. What are the two animals? Cat and dog, whatever it is, Like, trying to figure out, like, is it okay to burn a card here with my Orum's Chant, or do I need to hold it for one more turn? And then you might find yourself in a situation where, like, oh, Atraxa or Gristlebrand got surveilled in game 1. Like we saw in game 1.
Yeah, I believe you're looking for cat and mouse.
Cat and mouse. That's what it was.
Yeah, now we'll see though. Because Atraxa just getting hard cast here. And I think next turn will be the turn to do it because, well, Tamiyo's going to tick up to 8. You Orum's Chant for 1 turn, and then if you can ultimate Tamiyo, you're going to figure it out. Drawing 20 cards or whatever, 15 is going to be plenty. So I would think we can crack a clue if we want. We don't have to. And then just doing the Tamiyo ultimate here against the only air quotes pressure being an 0-3 archaeologist, like I would think this is looking fantastic for Yuuki Ichikawa heading to the World Championship.
I said chicken and mouse and cat and dog. I took 2 strikes and I swung out both times. Dang.
Cat and dog, I think that's acceptable, but I think the phrase, that
it's
most people are comfortable with is cat and mouse. Yeah. Got the old lamb and tuna fish, huh?
Something like that. All right. Well, here's an Emery. We'll see what the Emery can sort of muscle up for us. There's a Repeal and an Orum's Chant. But Tamiyo is about to ultimate, so I think none of those really matter. And now this is the maybe most surefire time to fire off the Orum's Chant with something like your Tamiyo ready to
this is going to be even a bigger reason to do it. Like, you get the end step Goryo, so this sticks around for Jesse's turn. You go, all right, now I will add the kicker to this powerful thing. That being said, Force of Negation is here to actually counter this, but that means you can't hard cast Atraxa,
Yo, but this is so crazy because we have 6 cards in graveyard total. We Orum's Chant. Force of Negation is going to counter the Orum's Chant. That unlocks the Ketramos. I mean, that you could still block, but I think it's just like, this is like the one timeline where maybe Jesse's going to be able to put something together.
Jesse gets to draw a card too off exiling it thanks to Ketramos. So yeah, this is things are happening. So Jesse's going to draw 2 cards, going to get to attack with Ketramos towards Tamiyo. So you're totally right. If Jesse can find a removal spell for one of these creatures, you can at least attack Tamiyo down enough where, it's not going to ultimate right away. Did that not draw a card off exiling
no,
it? Is
it has to be for permanence in play. It has to be for permanence play, but he's going to draw a card here for flickering out this Philagi Archaeologist. For sure.
This is huge. And you're going to get to Archaeologist. So draw a card, then we see what the archaeologist hits. What did we find? There's a Traxa. Force of Negation is the only card that can be picked, but hey, that's decent. But this Ketramos is going to come at Tamiyo. The block is still available, and it only kills Emery. You're trading Emery for Ketramos. You don't even lose Narset thanks to Tamiyo's uptick, and then Yuuki is able to ultimate Tamiyo.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Tamiyo ultimate lose outside of like Orcish Bowmasters on the stack, and I don't believe Jesse has any copies of those, so I think we're about to see Yuuki just draw 14 whole cards, and that's going to be enough to win the game.
You would think. And I mean, yeah, we could sack this clue as well at end step, get another card in there. Sure, why not? And now the exiling of Ketramos. Okay, so that is another card. Does it matter? Nope. I kind of forgot about that last card that we get. So there were still things to be done. But all right, there's the Ascendancy. There's no Emery anymore. But hey, when you draw 13 cards, there's probably going to be one.
Yeah, I'm also kind of wondering, we have 3 copies of Corey Steelcutter in the graveyard, so I guess would we have to find exactly the 4th copy to present lethal this turn? Or does that even... Can we even
Who cares? Who cares? We don't need to win the game when you're going to be so good at not losing. You know, like we have 3 sagas in play, so you got enough time to just play a saga every turn, make a construct every turn, counter whatever your opponent's doing, you know, play a spell bomb in case a big creature an Atraxa does hit the battlefield. Like, you can even repeal an Atraxa, like, and of course, Ascendancy could find some lethal lines. I think Ascendancy kind of has to be forced, and there's a second one in hand.
Yeah, but pitching the Atraxa here is not good, because if you're in Jesse's seat and you're thinking, how do I get back into this game? What has to happen for me to win? I mean, you're literally 1 land away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay,
yeah.
Maybe not
one land away. You're right.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're 1 land away. Yeah. Yep, it's 7. And I mean, I think the real thing that Jesse has to hope for is just a Gorios. You already have an Atraxa in the yard. Like, maybe you have to hope you can Gorios and do things. But either way you slice it, I think both players know who has a slim chance of winning this game. And I think they're in both agreements.
Yeah, so tough call here. I mean, Jesse basically needs the miracle run. Do you need that Atraxa in hand in order to accomplish that?
And I think it's the other case, like, okay, if I counter it, like, you probably just have another one, you know? Like,
yeah. This might be actually one of the matchups where I do like Jeskai Ascendancy. I know you spent some time talking about you were talking about how it can be kind of clunky and unnecessary, but this is a matchup that's all about speed and being able to go, like, you know, turn 2 Emery, turn 3 Ascendancy, just win is very valuable.
Yeah, any unfair matchup, Ascendancy is going to stay in. You know, we saw them get Snap taken out against Boros when you can just turn into this Jeskai control deck. Love it there. But yeah, if I'm playing against Amulet, Storm, Tron, Gorios Vengeance, any of these decks that aren't playing fair, basically any of these decks that aren't playing into my portable holes, then yeah, I want to keep in the Ascendancy, even though they're just okay. So, all right, there's Emery. So that is the combination here of if you can have Emery with the Ascendancies, you do got to give it haste, and we do not have the ability to do so yet.
I guess something else that's kind of interesting to me too is there a world where we could survive an attack here? I don't really think so. I mean, we do have the Solitude, but I guess you have the Narset that'll become huge, and you have the Emery that'll also become huge, and with the Spellbomb in hand, you can bounce the blocker, which means, yeah, I think all things considered, you should probably be fine.
Yeah, I mean, once again, all things considered, there's no way to get a Corey Cutter from the yard as it stands. So I think this is Yuuki saying, all right, I still have a Corey Cutter in my deck. If we didn't mill it over, we can't see the full look at the graveyard right now. But I mean, the way Yuuki loses this game is goes for the Corey Cutter, line, finds it, it gets forced, and all of a sudden Yuuki doesn't have any more cards left in his deck. Got careless type thing, like.
Yeah, that's my concern, right? With Jeskai Ascendancy, like the loop with this is you have like Mishra's Bauble or something, you buy it back, you cast it, you buy it back, you cast it, you buy it back, you cast it. But if you do it too many times and you cannot win this turn, there's a chance that you like deck out. And now I think once again we are in the situation where Yuuki Ichikawa is, you know, ready, poised to win this match, to go to the World Championship, but he just needs to find a clean way to end this game.
Well, let me interrupt you there because the clean answer is here, and I think it's all wrapped up. We have this 11 power Narset attacking, and if Solitude gets evoked, we have the consign for that ability. So as long as the consign gets replicated to play around Force Negation, we have lethal right now, as this Narset is a 12 power creature now.
Okay, well, there you go. Problems have been solved.
Yes. So now we're going to attack. The Solitude is forced. The consign is forced. And as long as we replicate just once, Yuuki Ichikawa is your second person going to the World Championship here later on.
Powerful, powerful stuff here. Really just showcasing the new cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm, Corey Steelcutter, Narset, Jeskai Waymaster, and the good old MOCS Opal, right? Like if you had any doubt in your mind, let this quell it, because these cards are strong, absurd, powerful.
Strong. And I want to bring everyone's attention to sideboarding. Remember when Yuuki went back and forth between 1 consign or 4 portable holes?
Okay, good call. Yeah, the game-winning play right here. Hello. Okay.
Imagine if that was a portable hole. Like, I still think Yuuki would win the game. Don't get me wrong, you know, but wouldn't win this turn. Wouldn't win right now. And with this 1 consign, which looked relatively medium. All right, so that's it. Yuuki Ichikawa takes it down and is going to be our other finalist to play against Ryan, our Vintage Cube winner. And I gotta say, I mean, Yuuki made it just look easy with this Jeskai deck. Pretty much all 3 matches. Anurag, what do you think about that? That was awesome.
The Corey Steelcutter sliced through the competition like butter. It was very exciting to see, and also like the number of decisions, the number of times where like I even underestimated that card's explosiveness in this shell. It is the real deal. It is here to stay, and I would definitely be prepared for it for any future tournaments if I'm not playing it myself.
Yeah, I know what kind of deck you've been liking at least, and we definitely have a very recent common deck that we have loved, and that is Temur Breach, and this is very much a Temur Breach-esque thing, so, you know, I'm a little bummed that we got to cast this final match. I want to go get in a league and play with Yuki's list right now, but I guess I'll just have to wait a little bit later. But you want to do some battling later?
I'm down, but first, I will also spice up the stakes here a little bit. Both players going into our grand finale, they will have qualified for the World Championship, but sometimes there's something more important than a World Championships invite, and it's bragging rights, because Ryan and Yuuki have already battled against each other. Yuuki won, completely ran over Ryan, and so now we're going to see if Ryan has what it takes to make a comeback and seal the title of champion.
Oh, yeah, they played in Modern, right? They didn't play in Limited?
Round 1 of Modern, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we did see that. That was our first match. That was that Belcher versus the Jeskai. And honestly, those were Yuki's absolute worst draws. And he still pulled it out. You know, game 1, he basically had a non-functioning hand. But games 2 and 3, he drew like okay and kind of dismantled Ryan. So I'm with you. You got to put the advantage bar to the seasoned pro of Yuuki Ichikawa. But you know what? I think we've basically gotten every single round wrong that we've been guessing. So who are we to tell? Looks like Ryan's going to win. But we are going to find out after this short break. And we'll be right back with the grand finals of the Magic Online Champion Showcase. Do not go anywhere.